What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the TurnBuckleTopix podcast. I'm your host, Pat Dineen, and this is my review of Impact Wrestling, which took place September 28th, 2023. We're just 3 weeks away, guys. We are 3 weeks away from the biggest pay-per-view all year for Impact Wrestling, that being Bound for Glory, taking place October 21st in Chicago, Illinois. We got all kinds of news and details that emerged throughout the course of this episode, so if you missed it, I'm going to catch you up on all of that and more. And without further ado, let's get right into this. So it started off with an X Division Championship match on Thursday night. We saw the winner from last week's Ultimate X match at Impact 1000, Alan Angels, going up against the 10-time champion, that being Chris Sabin, 10-time X Division champion. He's won that title twice in 2023. Again, the second time being 2 weeks ago, up against Lio Rush. Good opening bout. Match ends with Sabin hitting Angels with a missile dropkick, power bomb, gets the 1-2-3, and still X Division champion Chris Sabin. Now look, nothing against Alan Angels. I think he's fantastic. But look, Chris Sabin, again, he just won this title 2 weeks ago. There was no way in hell they were letting this guy lose this championship already. He was on the very first episode of TNA many moons ago. Here he made it to episode 1000, where he won gold, becoming a 10-time X Division champion. There's just no way. Now, I'm not saying that Chris Sabin's going to hold this title throughout the duration of 2023, but I am saying that he's going to hold this title at least for 3 more weeks going into Bound for Glory in Chicago. Again, their biggest pay-per-view of the year. So that was pretty good. But what was even more interesting was post-match, we got a video package up on the screen there. It played, and we see Bullet Club's Kenta, followed by a graphic saying that he'll be returning at Impact Bound for Glory on October 21st, again, in Chicago, Illinois. Now, the funny thing about this is the last year or two, it was rumored that CM Punk wanted a match with Kenta. Right at Forbidden Door, whether it was going to be 2022 or when he had just returned this past June, where we saw the debut of AEW Collision, which was pretty much CM Punk's show on Saturday nights. We were hoping, hey, maybe he'll be back just in time for Forbidden Door, which he technically was back in time for Forbidden Door, and we were hoping that it maybe would be up against the Kenta. However, I guess Kenta was not interested and declined it, maybe. So here we are. Ironically enough, Kenta is returning to Impact on the 21st in CM Punk's hometown of Chicago, Illinois. And what if, right? What if CM Punk shows up at the taping, or at the pay-per-view rather, for Impact? Hey, it wouldn't be the first time CM Punk made his face around Impact Wrestling. He was just there this past spring, early summer, before he made his official return to AEW. I remember he took a few pictures with the men and women of that locker room. I remember specifically Jordan Grace posted a picture with CM Punk. So we'll see. That could be really interesting and intriguing if those two were to cross paths, scripted or not. But very interesting to note that Kenta will be making an appearance at Impact. And a little later on in the show, we will get a confirmed match that, in fact, Kenta will be wrestling on that show, which is really cool. Now, Bully Ray, also Bubba Ray Dudley, made it known recently that he would welcome CM Punk with open arms to Impact Wrestling. Of course, he's been a vital part of that company throughout its, duration. And present day, he's still wrestling there, believe it or not. I'm sure he has some pull backstage, being he's close with Tommy Dreamer, and Dreamer's an integral part of the Impact Wrestling operation as well. I'm sure, speaking to Scott D'Amore, they would have no problem if CM Punk showed any interest of signing with that company, whether it was 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows. I'm sure they would give him the opportunity and the stage. That would be huge for Impact Wrestling. Ratings would boost immediately. Say what you want about CM Punk, the person, the individual. Everybody has their, 2 cents about him, and I get it. But that would be a huge pickup, even if it's a one-off, just so we could see maybe at a future New Japan Impact Multiverse United show. I know the third one's coming up. I don't know if it's going to be before year's end, probably early next year, 2024. I'd love to see Kenta coming over from Japan and CM Punk representing Impact and clashing. Of course, we thought we were going to get it in the Forbidden Door version, right? CM Punk being part of AEW, Kenta, again, still New Japan. Didn't happen on that big stage, unfortunately, in Chicago in 2022 or in Toronto for 2023's Forbidden Door. But I would totally be on board for it. I think a lot of people really would as well. 2 very talented individuals. So let's hop into this second match here. We have Rhino going up against Jack Price. I'll be honest, I don't know a damn thing about Jack Price, but it was over before it started. Rhino dropped Price spine first on the apron before hitting him with a clothesline. Rhino then chops and clotheslines Price again. Corner spear connects. Rhino hits the gore for the victory. Now, post-match, Steve Maclin got a little revenge after these last couple of weeks. Rhino got the best of Steve Maclin, even costing him his Feast or Fire briefcase on night 1 of Impact 1000. So the way this went is Steve Maclin got in the ring, attacked Rhino in the corner, getting some revenge. And like I said, and Rhino fired back, though. Rhino's no punk. You can't keep him down. Maclin, however, escaped before getting hit with a another gore for the third consecutive week. So at least Macklin got out of Dodge. Now, all signs lead to these two having a match in 3 weeks' time at Bound for Glory, so I'm sure that will be booked in the very near future. Next segment, we have Tasha Steelz backstage, cutting a promo. She goes on to say that she is back and back to take over the Knockouts, ... I'm assuming she was going to say division. That was until Deonna Purrazzo showed up. She officially welcomed Tasha Steelz back to Impact. Now, those two were on the same team last week, part of that 5-on-5 women's main event. That was fantastic. Unfortunately, they were on the losing side of things. But Purrazzo goes on to say, look, if you have my back, I have yours. Now, it looks like these two will not only be allies for one another, but likely will be contenders in the very near future for those Knockouts tag team titles. Both of them former tag team champions in their own right, not together, but it looks like that's where it's headed eventually. Now, the thing that's great is not only do I love these two women, but both of them actually trained together with Damian Adams. He's a professional wrestler and well-known coach in New Jersey. He hails from Hackettstown, New Jersey, to be specific, and that's actually the same place that Deonna Purrazzo is also from as well. Now, after the show on Twitter, I believe it was, Tasha Steelz had retweeted a picture in regards to him being their coach, and she tweeted out hashtag Team Adams. So, hey, maybe that'll be their tag team name. But in all sincerity, I think it's fantastic seeing these two pair up. I love both of them. I've been following them for years, even prior to Impact Wrestling. And as a matter of fact, we got a graphic during this show that we're going to be seeing Tasha Steelz in action next week, going one-on-one with one half of the current Knockout Tag Team champions, that being Killer Kelly. Now, one would assume, being that they're tag team champions, that Masha Slamovich will be in Killer Kelly's corner. And whether it is initially or at some point throughout the course of this match, you could expect Deonna Purrazzo to fully have her back and be there for her friend, training partner, and potentially brand new tag team partner. So that's going to be very good. Again, this match unto itself, without the caveat of Deonna Purrazzo being in the picture, was going to be great. But knowing that, all signs are leading to these four women eventually getting a match will be great. And look, Bound for Glory, again, 3 weeks' time. It looks like we'll be getting Tasha Steelz and Deonna Purrazzo as the number one contenders for these Knockouts tag titles up against Masha and Kelly. So that should be really, really great. Now we have Alicia Edwards and Eddie Edwards backstage saying that this is not how this is going to end. At Impact 1000, Tracy Brooks pinned Alicia, and Eddie let it be known that Frankie Kazarian did not pin him, however. Eddie says, this is not over. Then enter Frankie Kazarian. He walks into the frame and says, you're right, it's not over. If it were up to me, I'd do this right here, right now. You want nothing more than to beat me in that ring. Frankie said, hey, look, I want to put an end to this, so I'm going to go to Impact Management and make sure we find a way to settle this. Kaz goes on to say, because this is over. Edwards says, you're damn right, we're going to end it. So these two, again, looks like all signs are pointing. Throughout the course of this episode, as you could already see from this review, they're really molding a lot of matchups and conclusions to feuds as well. So I think we'll see the conclusion to Steve Macklin and Rhino. I think we'll see the conclusion to Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian that's been going on for months. So it looks like we'll be getting that match at Bound for Glory as well. Now, before I jump into this next bit here, in regards to Tracy Brooks, we got some breaking news throughout the course of this show. Now, I said on last week's episode that Mike Tenay and the late Don West will be inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame on October 21st. Now, they're going to do this during the countdown to Bound for Glory in Chicago, of course. And Scott D'Amore will induct Mike Tenay and Don West, while Gail Kim will be inducting Tracy Brooks into the Impact Hall of Fame as well. So congratulations to Tracy Brooks as well, being announced for that Hall of Fame class. That's fantastic news for her. So Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura, a.k.a. JOYA. They've been together the last 5 or 6 weeks on Impact Wrestling. They've been very entertaining. I mean, Joe Hendry's entertaining unto himself, but the addition of Yuya has been great as well. So JOYA, they make their way out. Hendry gets on the mic and says he's not thrilled about what he has to talk about. At Feast or Fired last week, Yuya received a pink slip. JOYA is no more, and Yuya is fired. He says, however, looking at the glass half full here, sometimes we have to be thankful for the times we do have. He has absolutely no regrets about teaming with Yuya and says, thank you, Yuya. Yuya gets the microphone. He thanks the fans. He's then immediately interrupted by the Impact Tag Team Champions, the Rascalz, Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz. Trey says it's good that they didn't get the tag title opportunity, because if they did, they would have tried and failed. Joe Hendry said, "That's funny. You should know all about failure, being the second and third best Rascal." As most of you already know, and for those that don't, formerly known as Desmond Xavier, was the third member of that group. No specific order, as Hendry said. He clearly states him as the number one guy, which it's hard to dispute when you look at his resume. So he's better known as Wes Lee. He's been in NXT the last 3 years. Wes Lee, a former two-time NXT Tag Team Champion, along with Wentz, ironically. He was known as Nash Carter until they fired him earlier this year due to some controversy. And Wes Lee, as of recent, became the longest reigning NXT North American champion as well. And now this group, the Rascalz, they formed in Impact Wrestling back in early 2018, I believe. And so Trey went on to tell Hendry, he said, "Look," he says, "you have a big mouth for somebody who's going to be all alone in just 1 week's time." Hendry said, "It's true. I will be alone in 1 week's time, but not tonight." Immediately following that, a scuffle breaks out between the two teams. Then we get the Director of Authority, Santino Marella. He made his way out. Love me some Santino. He says the two teams will have a match tonight. Now, look, it's a non-title match because they did not successfully get that title opportunity last week in the Feast or Fire briefcase. That went to ABC, Bullet Club's Ace Austin and Chris Bay. So rightfully understood why Santino said this is a non-title opportunity, especially with Yuya with 1 foot out the door already after this episode concluded. He says, however, if JOYA is able to win, Yuya gets to keep his job. Now, Tom Hannafan on commentary reminded us that nobody in the history of this Feast or Fired business who received their fired slip had ever been given a second chance opportunity. So I was unaware of that. So this led me to believe, wow, maybe they'll get it done. Maybe they'll keep him around, or maybe gave him a bit of a contract extension and so on. But hey, first time for everything, right? So this match began. High energy battle. Yuya's employment on the line here. Hendry all fired up. So a couple close near falls for both teams throughout. Now, while the referee was distracted by Hendry and Wentz on the outside, Trey Miguel kneed Yuya in the groin, took out a can of spray paint he got from the outside just moments earlier. He took that from his pants, sprayed Yuya in the face with the spray paint, rolls him up, gets the victory. Yuya's gone. Again, this was non-title, and still, I can't even say that. They were going to be the tag team champions regardless still, the Rascalz. And I find it funny with this whole spray paint business the last several months. If you watch AEW television, the Outcasts, right? The Outcasts, Saraya, Ruby Soho, and Tony Storm, who used to be in that group, it seems like they do the same thing. They got this green spray paint. I don't know what it is. Maybe they got a deal at Costco or something, buying them in bulk. But they both share this same green spray paint. And look, maybe if it's a little homage to D-Generation X, I'm here for it. Because they both wear ring gear very similar too. Both factions, the black and green, that lime green, or so colors. So hey, look, I'm all for representing DX if that's what the underlying reason is for all of this. But they got the victory. And before I go to this next segment, some real life news that Trey Miguel tweeted out. I believe it was the night before this episode of Impact had come out, and he wrote, "I was involved in a hit and run tonight that sent my fiance and I into a pole on the Florida Turnpike. The Ford F-150 hit a car that hit us and sent us spiraling into a pole before fleeing. No reports from witnesses have been made. Such good people we live amongst. 10 cars, 0 eyes." So obviously visibly frustrated by the whole situation. I'm just glad that Trey Miguel and his fiance are okay. That sounds like it could have been a hell of a lot worse. And I'm assuming this episode of Impact that we just watched and I'm reviewing, they tend to do, tapings in advance, right? They typically don't run their Impact TV shows live. I highly doubt Trey Miguel would be in this kind of a significant car crash and then be ready to wrestle in less than 24 hours time. So a speedy recovery to him and his fiance. Again, sorry to hear about that. Hopefully they find whoever did this. And that's very unfortunate news, really is. So we go backstage. We have Diener and Khan from The Design. They cut a promo on former members of The Design, Eric Young and Sami Callihan. And Diener claims that they will rebuild on Khan's shoulders. Khan will face the walking weapon, Josh Alexander. I believe that match takes place next week. I don't believe that was booked for Bound for Glory. So I think we'll be seeing that next week as well. We have a Memphis street fight. We have former digital media champion Kenny King and his accomplice Sheldon Jean go on 2-on-2 against Heath and the current digital media champion who dethroned him on night one of Impact 1000. Tommy Dreamer. Now look, Tommy Dreamer, he took a blockbuster from Kenny King while his legs were stuck in the rungs of a ladder. That looked brutal, especially Dreamer doing this at his age. What is he, in his mid-50s or so? I mean, this looks brutal even if you're in your early 20s, whatever age you are, to be taking a spot like this. I give Tommy Dreamer all the credit in the world, man. He truly is hardcore, the innovator of violence, right? So this street fight was all that and some. Kenny King and Heath took their business backstage later on in the match, maybe to the streets of Memphis, like the title of the match was called. Dreamer hit Sheldon Jean with a Dreamer driver through a table in the corner of the ring to secure the victory. In the post-match, we saw Crazy Steve. He's one crazy bastard, that's for sure. The rightful owner of the Digital Media Championship opportunity that he received last week in his briefcase, I believe it was case number 4 of Feast or Fired, he attacked Dreamer. And with the actual briefcase, then he tells Dreamer, inside this briefcase is my beginning, and for you, it is the end. So look, maybe we'll be getting this match taking place as well at Bound for Glory. Tommy Dreamer defending his Digital Media Championship against Crazy Steve. I mean, if it's anything like the other matches and other segments I just discussed throughout this review, it seems like all signs point to yet again another match being booked for their biggest pay-per-view of the year, Bound for Glory. So I'm here for it. Why not, save that match for another couple weeks from now, title on the line. And it's not that Tommy Dreamer needs the opportunity. He's been doing this forever, but I think it's a great opportunity, win, lose, draw for Crazy Steve to get on their most important pay-per-view of the year in title contention. He's been with the company for years, and I think it's much deserved. He's been in that tag team sense with Decay, right? Whether it was with Abyss many years ago, or even Black Taurus as of recent with Rosemary and so on. So good for Crazy Steve. Again, he is nuts. So next up here, we have Jonathan Gresham versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Very good match. Now, this was a opportunity that Speedball Mike Bailey presented to Jonathan Gresham the week prior on Impact, which Gresham agreed to this match. They've been on, they pretty much had a good alliance, a good understanding. They're friends for quite some time in Impact. And Speedball Mike Bailey said, hey, why not get Gresham back in the thick of things? Great match. Even got a Fight Forever chant throughout. Fast forward towards the ending here. Gresham had Bailey in a Boston Crab. Bailey broke the hold, getting to the bottom rope. Just a few minutes later, on Gresham's third consecutive attempt to pin Mike Bailey, he grabbed the trunks of Speedball Mike Bailey to secure the victory. The referee did not see it. Bailey was in disbelief. He's like, I gave you this opportunity last week to get back on the up and up and Impact, and this is how you do me. Foul play. So he was pleading his case to the referee that Gresham cheated to win. The referee said, sorry, pal, match is called. We'll go back and check the tape later, basically. And so that was pretty much it. I guess this is Jonathan Gresham officially turning heel one way or another. And I am 1000% okay with that. I prefer Jonathan Gresham as a heel. I think that is the best Jonathan Gresham we could get. And the nice guy role was a little dated. Him being with Impact the last, year or so, ever since leaving Ring of Honor. And I can't wait to see what happens with Gresham going forward. Whether gold's on the line or not, I want to see him in some notable feuds. Of course, him and Mike Bailey, they could fight throughout the next couple of weeks. Again, much like I discussed this whole show, another match that could take place at Bound for Glory. So we'll see. But I am totally okay with the heel turn of Jonathan Gresham. It was subtle, and he didn't make a fuss. He got the job done. He kind of stood there post-match like, yeah, and what? I did it. Got the win. It's in the history books. And so I move forward and proceed. So now we head backstage. We have Steve Maclin asking Bully Ray, where the hell have you been? Now, these two have had an understanding, I want to say since May, around Under Siege or so. And he said, I need your help with Rhino, just like I helped you with PCO. Bully says, I've known the guy for 25 years. I'll talk to Rhino for you. Maclin, appalled at the response, he says, talk? What do you mean you're going to talk to him? Are you feeling nostalgic because Devon is back? They returned 3D, also the Dudley Boys, but 3D and Impact. You guys returned as a tag team at Impact 1000 Night 1, and, you're feeling like a good guy again, or, you're trying to, what's this softness, basically, Maclin was saying. So Maclin says, Bully has gone soft, and I guess their alliance is over. So I don't know what that means for the two of them. Maybe that was just a clear-cut way of telling us that they are no longer on the up and up. In my opinion, Bully Ray, Bubba Ray, whatever you want to call him, he's never a baby face, right? Even when he's a good guy, he's still a tweener. So I'm not saying that Bully Ray is going full-blown baby face, but maybe he's taking a break from the vicious heel that he's been since returning to Impact earlier this year. And maybe now he's just going to, play a more relaxed, subtle role, being maybe feeling nostalgic, being that Devon was back and such. So we'll see what happens with that. So now we have the quintessential diva, Gisele Shaw with Savannah Evans and Jay Vidal, as always. They're always by her side, right? Going up against the Impact Knockouts champion, Trinity. Now, this is a non-title matchup. If you guys remember, Trinity defeated Gisele Shaw at Under Siege in May 2023. As a matter of fact, not only did she defeat Gisele by submission in a match that went a little over 10 minutes using her Starstruck, I believe it's called, maneuver, this was also Trinity's first pay-per-view match. I think she only had 1 or 2 matches under her belt on regular Impact programming before going up against Gisele Shaw. I know she went up against Kylan King in her debut match and possibly one other person. But anyway, this was a very good match. For the longest time, Gisele nor Trinity could put one another away. There was numerous close calls. Eventually, Trinity made Gisele tap to her Starstruck submission. Post-match, Jay Vidal and Savannah Evans get in the ring, attack Trinity, basically pretty much have a 3-on-1 going on here. That was until Hardcore Country. Mickie James showed up, made her way out for the save, helping Trinity take everyone out. So Mickie gets on the microphone. She says, "You don't have to thank me, Trin. That's what friends do. And I can't tell you how honored I was to stand next to you last week for that historic Knockouts main event at Impact 1000, which they won, by the way, even better, right?" She goes on to tell Trinity that she will always have her back. Mickie proceeds to say Trinity didn't just win that Knockouts championship, she earned it. She goes on to say she stood by her side many a time, but there's one place she never stood from Trinity, and that's across the ring from her. This is when things get really good. So Mickie says she never lost that championship, which is accurate. She relinquished her title due to a broken rib earlier in the year. Deonna Purrazzo won the title by beating Jordynne Grace at Impact Rebellion. So she's got a case here. She has a rematch clause that she can invoke whenever she wants, and anytime, any place. So Mickie proceeds to say, at Bound for Glory in 3 weeks, I want to challenge you, Trin, for that Knockouts championship. And so it's official. We have Mickie James going up against the Knockouts champion Trinity at Bound for Glory, and I'm super excited about it. It's unfortunate these two never had a storyline or some kind of program they worked in WWE. I would have loved to see a heel Mickie James go up against Trinity, a babyface Trin, which she usually was in WWE, with the exception of 2015, right? Or a little 2016 when she was part of Team Bad with Sasha Banks and Tamina. This should be good. This should be very good, even though they're both babyface right now in Impact. Who knows? So I'm here for it. That match was made official, and one other match that was made official, as I spoke about earlier in the show, we saw that video package of Kenta, right? Immediately following Chris Sabin's victory over Alan Angels for that X Division Championship. So we had some breaking news here. Chris Sabin will be defending his X Division Championship against Kenta, also at Bound for Glory on the 21st. So those are 2 great matches that were made official for Impact Bound for Glory, and many others we saw foreshadowing for that they're about to put a bow on in the coming week or 2 for Bound for Glory that we saw throughout the duration of this show. A quality show. It's hard to top the last 2 weeks prior to that, where we saw Impact 1000 night 1 and night 2 with all the nostalgia going on and just all the great wrestling we got to see. But they followed up pretty good. Again, 3 weeks time, Bound for Glory, and I'm here for it. So that pretty much concludes my coverage here for the Impact Wrestling review of September 28th. Looking forward to the next few weeks of build heading into their biggest pay-per-view of the year, Bound for Glory. And I can't wait to see more matchups take place and more matchups, be made official, rather. Want to see Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich go up against Tasha Steelz, Deonna Purrazzo, Steve Macklin, and Rhino. So plenty to look forward to, and I can't wait to go over it. So I want to thank you guys, as always, for tuning in to the TurnBuckleTopix podcast. I'm your host, Pat Dineen, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.